morning. Hey, it says we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I see that the chat box is getting busy over there, and everybody is saying where they are from. I am so glad you guys are here today. I see some names that are familiar to me. Hello, Sunny. How is that baby doing? And there's Demore, and Dawn is actually in the chat box already this morning. She's going to be dropping links for you guys, but you know that. Hello to everyone who might be new to a PamBarnhill.com event. I am Pam Barnhill, and we talk all about homeschooling and morning time, which is what this particular event is for. It's one of our morning time methods events where we work with the kids and with the moms to help them come up with ideas and things that they can bring into their morning time. So I am Pam Barnhill. I blog at PamBarnhill.com. I have 3 homeschooling podcasts. One of them is Your Morning Basket, all about morning time. And I am joined today by my very special guest, Eric Berlin. Hi, Eric. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I am mesmerized by this chat box. I just can't keep my eyes off of it.
Okay, well, it can be distracting.
It doesn't be. Hello, everybody.
And so I was introduced to Eric a couple of months ago. He sent me an email about this project, this labor of love that he has going on all about puzzles. He has a website called Puzzle Your Kids, where he makes puzzles for kids. And he's going to talk a little bit more about kind of his philosophy behind puzzles and how he got started puzzling and things like that, and why puzzles are a good thing to do with your kids. And when Eric sent me the email, I was really intrigued because my middle guy, John, really loves puzzles. This is something that he really gets into. And so I went over to Eric's website, was checking it out, and noticed that he had a free puzzle every Friday. So if you sign up for his email list, he'll send you a free puzzle every Friday. And so I started printing out those puzzles that we got on Friday and using them in our morning time. So sometimes I would just print one copy of the puzzle and we would all kind of gather around it together. Other times I would print John and Olivia, my older guys, their own copy of the puzzle, and we would all fill it out. But we would bring it into our morning time, and we would sit and talk about the clues and discuss them and try to, have somebody yell out the first answer. And we were just having fun and really enjoying ourselves working on the puzzles together. So it was a lot of fun. And I said, you know what, let's have Eric on, because I noticed he did school visits. And I said, let's have Eric on to talk to the homeschool community, because we can't let all the school kids have all the fun. We got to have a little fun. So that was when I decided to have him on for this particular morning time methods. And I do want to point out, Eric is actually an author. He has the Winston Breen series of books. And so the first one in that series is The Puzzling World of Winston Breen. And I got this to read with my kids. So it's in our stack, so in our read aloud stack to read. And you can actually, there are puzzles in here, Eric, right? And you can print out?
Yeah, you can print them out. You can print out the puzzles from the Puzzle Your Kids website. Basically, the way it's a mystery story. All 3 books are mystery stories. And when the characters face a puzzle, so does the reader, and the reader can solve along with the characters in the book. That's what makes these books, I think, kind of special.
Okay, I love that. So we're going to do that. I've got it already. We're going to have some fun with that, and you can find that on Amazon. And Dawn is dropping the links to those particular books for you, and then you can print the puzzles. The puzzles are in the book, but if you want to work the puzzles, on paper without writing in your book, you can print those out from the Puzzle Your Kids website. Okay, I know you've got your kids there, so we're going to stop yakking and start having some fun. And then we'll be back at the end of the presentation to talk to just the moms about whatever questions they might have about using puzzles with their kids in their morning time, or just in their family. Okay, Eric, so I'm going to kind of turn it over to you now so you can work with the kids.
All right, that's great. So hello, kids. Hello, everybody. What I want to teach you today, just to jump right into it, I want to teach you guys how to make some puzzles of your own. When I was a kid, I used to love to make treasure hunts with clues that would lead kids or my parents or whoever I inflicted it upon, from place to place until they eventually found the treasure I had hidden. And honestly, I still do love making treasure hunts, although now I tend to call them puzzle hunts because the puzzles are the main point of the thing. And I'm going to try to teach you guys how to make your own sort of mini little puzzle hunt. I'm going to teach you guys how to make 3 different kinds of puzzles that are fairly easy to make and just a little bit tricky to solve. So you give the puzzles to your friend, and they've got to put it together, and at the end, maybe they find the birthday present or whatever it is that you have for them. So let me jump over to the screen share thing. Hang on just 1 second. Make sure I'm doing this right. Entire screen. Okay. Good. Normally, I'd be doing this on a big piece of paper or a whiteboard, but because we're here on a computer, I'm going to be just using, Excel and Word. So the first puzzle, imagine you've got yourself a sheet of paper, and you're going to write on that sheet of paper a message to your friend. We're going to say, look under your bed, but we're going to write it here in a particular kind of way. Look, under. We're going to write it so that there's only 4 letters on each line. So if you get to the end of a line and you still have more of the word, we're going to start a new line. Look under your, again, we're at the end of the line, your bed. A simple message. Now, if you gave this isn't a puzzle yet. This is just a message. Look under your bed. How do we turn this into a puzzle? Simple. Now, this is not a spreadsheet. This is a piece of paper. And we are going to cut this piece of paper into 4 strips. And then we're going to take those strips and we're going to separate them. And we're going to put them into, an envelope. Hey, you're supposed to be a strip. So you put the 4 strips into an envelope, and when your friend opens up that envelope, they don't see look under your bed. They see 4 strips of paper that say Odo or Kiud, or they're very, very strange. And it'll be up to them to rearrange those strips so that it reads properly across, look under your bed. Simple, right? You just write the message out, you cut up the piece of paper, you scramble the 4 strips, and you put it into an envelope. Boom, puzzle number 1.
I love that. And in the chat box, we're hearing, oh, that's brilliant. So now, could you do it with, instead of 4 across, could you do it with 6 across?
Absolutely. You can make it any size you want to. This is a very, very simple size. I've done it with larger. Yeah, you can do it with any size you want. All these puzzles are infinitely adjustable. These are the seeds of puzzles. You can grow them in any direction you want.
Okay, and kids, if you have questions like that as we go along, be sure to have your mom or you type them into the chat box, and we'll ask Eric the questions so that you get your questions answered as he's showing you how to make these puzzles. Okay?
All right. So for this next puzzle, I need a name here. I'm going to just look here and grab a name at random. Christina is here in the box. I don't know if that's a kid or a parent, probably a parent, but I'm going to take Christina's name. And Christina, I am going to change your name. Christina, your name is now 24747842. 247478462. I've taken Christina's name and I've turned it into the string of numbers. Can anybody out there figure out why these numbers are Christina's name and not some other set of numbers? How did I encode Christina's name into these numbers? Does anybody know? We'll take a couple of seconds and let people think about it. And
okay, Eric, while they're thinking, we had a couple of questions come in about the last puzzle.
Yeah.
Okay. Kelly wanted to know, do you tell the people you're giving the puzzle to that how to solve it, like you need to rearrange it, or do you just hand them the thing and let it be a mystery that they can figure out?
It depends on who your puzzly victim is. I think a lot of kids would be able to figure it out pretty quickly. I mean, there's not a lot you can do with these pieces of paper, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with saying you have to rearrange these pieces of paper until you get your message.
Okay,
so you decide that on your own, depending on who your audience is.
And the age of your recipient. If you're doing it to your 6-year-old little brother, throw him a bone.
Exactly. You're giving it to a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old. All right, you can give him the instructions later as a nudge or a hint, but let's see if he can figure it out on his own first.
Okay. And then Sherry wanted to know if it could be a different message. And it totally can, Sherry.
Yeah.
It could be whatever message you want it to be. Do you want it to line up evenly at the end?
Yeah, you get your message first, and then you see, all right, what sort of rectangle can I make this message into? It could be 5 by 4 or 6 by 5 or whatever. If you absolutely have to, if it's say a prime number of letters, you can just end it with a couple of X's that will be understood are not really part of the message.
Okay.
But you can just shape your message to fit the piece of paper, the boxes that you fit it in.
Okay. Or you could put some exclamation marks at the end.
Exclamation marks, yeah. I think letters are better, but yeah, you can put anything you want in there.
Okay.
I see that somebody has a solution. Jen here has given me this solution, that the number on the telephone from the keypad, Tina says it too. What I basically did here to change Christina into 247478462 is to dial Christina's name on a telephone keypad. So the C of Christina corresponds to the 2, the H of Christina corresponds to a 4, and so on. And so I'm able to encode her name in that way into this string of numbers. And you can encode in that way any message that you want. Go into the backyard and look in the tool shed is something you dial it on a phone. Don't really dial it on a phone or you'll call Australia, but you pretend to dial it on a phone. You write down the numbers. You leave spaces between the number strings, just like you would leave spaces between the words. And this time I would say you want to tell your audience, tell your solver, you're going to need a telephone to solve this puzzle. You don't just want to give them a string of numbers and say, have fun. This puzzle, I think, needs instructions no matter what the age. And then they go to the phone and they say, all right, a 2, that could be an A, a B, or a C. And they fiddle around with it a little bit, and slowly the message will reveal itself. And then they'll go into the backyard and look at probably find the next puzzle out there. Make sense?
Yes. Okay. And so what I hear you saying, and guys, as I finish up talking to Eric, if you have any questions about this kind of puzzle, let me know. Jen just said you could use a 1 for a space to make it even harder to solve.
Oh, you can, but that would be indeed hard. That's not something I'd recommend.
Okay.
Your audience you're going to want an advanced audience for that kind of thing. That there's a terminology in puzzle construction. We call it a red herring. A red herring is noise inserted into the puzzle just to confuse people, and we try to avoid that.
Okay.
So I would not recommend that. Although for advanced audiences, it might not be a bad idea.
So if you have your 16-year-old older brother who is constantly driving you crazy, you could put the red herring in there for him.
Yeah, but I in general, avoid red herrings if at all possible. Puzzles are generally harder than the constructor thinks they are. And you think your puzzle is too easy and you throw in some red herrings to make it harder, you may have made it too hard.
Right.
And a puzzle that doesn't get solved is a puzzle that doesn't work. A puzzle is meant to be solved. You're not trying to stump anybody. You want to dance with your solver just long enough so that they are satisfied with getting that solution at the end.
Excellent. Okay, I like that. I like that analogy and that explanation. So what we can do right now, if we're doing a scavenger hunt for a birthday party, so you've given us 2 problems, or for a birthday present, you've given us 2 problems. So you might hand them the envelope for the first problem, and then they go to the backyard and they find this second problem.
Exactly.
And you can stack these puzzles one on top of the other to create this great big fun event that you can do.
That's exactly right. And you can extend it for as many puzzles as you want. We're just going to do 3 puzzles here because time is limited, but you can have as many puzzles as you can dream up.
Okay. All right. I don't see any more questions, but I will tag them if they come in.
Okay.
So we're going to move to puzzle 3.
Puzzle number 3. Now, this is a favorite of mine. I'm sure that many of the kids out there have solved word seeks. You have a grid of letters. The words are hidden in the grid. They read up and down and left and right and backwards and forwards. In my opinion, creating a word seek is as much or more a fun challenge as solving a word seek. And I'm going to teach you guys how you can make a word seek of your own. I'm starting here. I've got a 10 by 10 grid here. It can be any size you want. It can't be too small, but a 10 by 10 is a reasonable size grid to use. The first thing that you need when you are making a word seek is you want to know what theme you want to use. So we're going to, and by theme I mean what every word in the puzzle is related to. So we're going to make a word seek all about birds.
Okay.
So all right, we're going to make a word seek about birds. We need a whole bunch of different kinds of birds. Normally, I would go to Wikipedia and look up a list of birds and write as many of them down. But let's see a whole bunch of birds pop up in the chat box, and I'll write them out here. I'll throw in a few of my own. Robin. Let's see. Does this conk out again? Hang on a second. This wants to be annoying again. Let me just shut this down. There. Are you kidding me? Hang on a second.
Cardinal.
Cardinal. Hang on a second.
You're getting a bunch. They're moving fast.
Cardinal.
Parrot.
Penguin.
Wren.
Hawk. I had a funny feeling we'd be getting a lot of birds in. A lot of hawk. Blue jay. Now I see sandhill crane. That's more than 10 letters. So we can't use every kind of bird in the world. Crane, that's a nice one. Flamingo, go. Puffin, duck, that's a good basic one. How about owl, parakeet? All right, you want as many birds as you can think of. It'd be useful to spell them correctly. Heron, you guys know a lot of birds. All right. Now, normally I'd have even more birds than this, but this is a good list to start with. So, all right, you can stop with the birds now.
There's a delay. They typed them in a few seconds ago.
I know. That's fine. That was a nice one too. All right, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to sort your list. I'm not going to do it here because it would take too long, but you're going to sort your list by, not in alphabetical order, but simply by length. You want all the long words together and all the short words together. And you're going to start with your long bird names. So let's take one. All right, let's take cardinal. And what we're going to do is we're just going to throw it into the grid here on the diagonal. They can go in any direction, up, down, left, right, diagonally. And now, all right, so we got the first word in here. And now here's the only other rule of making a word seek. Every other bird that you add to this grid has to cross a bird that's already there. I'll say that again. Every new bird that you add to this list has to cross something that's already there. So we're going to add penguin here, crossing the N and going up. Penguin. And now what? Now look at this. We have robin, R. We can have this cross two words. R-O-B-I-N. I said B-I-N. Now that's crossing 2 words. And we're just going to try to keep throwing birds in here until we have filled as much of the grid as we possibly can. We can put parakeet down here. K-E-E-T. Do we have another P word? P bird? Puffin. P-U-F-F-I-N. We can do that. Let's see. Duck. Nope, that's not going to work. Let's see here. There's something with an L. Yes, eagle. E-A-G-L-E. Let's just do this for a few more minutes. D-U-C-K. Duck. Crane. Where can we put crane? C. No, that's too. That's not going to fit there. We can do it here. C-R-A-N-E. Heron. We do that diagonally. H-E-R-O-N. Oops, put it in the wrong place. N. You guys get the idea.
Yeah, you've done this a few times.
I've done this more than a few times. Raven. Let's put that there. And let's put something, let's use that R for something else. How about grouse? G, whoa, not outside the box. G-R-O-U-S-E. So I'm going to stop at this point, but I would, if I was making this puzzle for real, I would try to stuff as many birds as I can in there. But wait a second. The point of this puzzle is to give a secret message to our treasure hunt audience. Remember that?
Ooh.
How do we use this puzzle to give a secret message to our friends and the people who are solving our treasure hunt? I will tell you. When you pack as many birds as you can into this grid, you're not going to be able to fill every single space. You're going to use those leftover spaces to put in your secret message. I'm writing it in red. In real life, you're not really going to write it in red because
okay, that was going to be a question. Yeah,
I'm just you know, you're not going to really want to do it in red. I'm just trying to make it visible to you guys. You're going to write your secret message into the leftover spaces, and then you're going to tell your solver, after you've crossed out all the birds, look at the letters that remain, and they will tell you, I think at this point, the location of the treasure at last. So they circle all the birds or they cross them out. They look at the remaining letters, and that will tell them at last the location of the treasure, and they win the treasure hunt.
Okay, that's awesome. I do have a few questions.
All right, hit me.
It's going to be helpful for you to know about how many spaces you need. So like if it's, you know, look in the garage, you know that you're going to have to leave about that many spaces. I'm sure you can kind of tweak it a little bit.
First of all, this doesn't have to be you can tweak your message. You know, I will frequently do the word search first, see how many spaces I have left, and make my message to suit. If you have a message that it has to be that number of letters and has to be in this puzzle, well, it doesn't have to be in this puzzle. You can do a different puzzle. You can switch the order of the puzzles around and make that the message that has to be there into a different puzzle. Okay,
so you're just going to have to be a little bit fluid with the whole process to get it.
Exactly.
To get it to fit.
This isn't a recipe. This isn't a contract. These are, as I say, the seeds of puzzles, and you can take them in any direction you need for them to go.
Okay. And then would it be a red herring to put your clue in there out of order?
Yeah.
Okay. So you wouldn't want them to have to pull out the letters and then unscramble.
And then scramble them. Scrambling letters sounds easy and isn't easy.
Okay.
I never give solvers a scramble of more than like 5 letters. If it's a message of more than 5 letters, I spell it out.
Okay. Okay. That's perfect. All right, guys, if you have questions about making this particular kind of puzzle, now, I just want to go back and point out that Eric made these letters red so that you could easily see them. But if you were doing this yourself, and we were chatting over here in the chat box, Eric is doing this in a spreadsheet program, which you could use Excel or numbers on a Mac, or you could use the spreadsheet on Google Drive to make it. I can't Google whatever, Google Sheets or whatever.
That's in real life. I use graph paper, and graph paper and a pencil and a clipboard.
Or you could use graph paper, yes. Yeah. And so that would be something. And you know, the wonderful thing about graph paper these days is you can print it off online, and you could make the squares a little bit larger than your normal kind of small itty bitty squares that you sometimes buy at the store. So if you have a younger kid who's wanting to make one of these puzzles with your help and they're wanting to do the writing, print them a little bit larger boxes online so that they can do that.
That's good advice.
So, okay. So I'm waiting to see if any questions are coming in. So you guys, you have this awesome, arsenal of things to do for making puzzles and having fun with your friends. So this would be just wonderful to do for a party, any kind of party at your house, or just have friends over, make popcorn, and have puzzles for them to solve. So that's a fun homeschool thing to do. And you can make them all have themes, base it around a book you're reading or something that you're studying together. So Wendy wants to know, would it be a red herring to type your message in first and fill in the remaining extra spaces with random letters?
No, I guess that wouldn't be a red herring. It would be a little bit confusing. They would see their message and then it would be gibberish at the end. But as long as they get their message, I would call that not a red herring, but it wouldn't be particularly elegant to have some of the letters not be a part of that message. Not the end of the world, but it's not a deal killer. Okay.
And then Lena wants to know about using these with spelling words or vocabulary words just for brain benders.
Yeah, they don't have to be themed. You can do whatever you want. You want to do it with your vocabulary list, that's fantastic. You know what you do? If you have like a weekly vocab list, call it 50 words. And the kid is looking at those words day after day for a while, you can conclude the week with a word seek that you make, and don't give the kid the list. See if they can find vocabulary words in the grid without the list. That's another way you can go. Kind of tricky, but possible.
Yeah, or you could do your clues could be the definitions.
Oh, that's another great idea. Yep.
Yeah.
See, these go in a whole bunch of different directions.
Okay, and then Ashley and Dawn both just piped in with Latin vocabulary lists. Since we're homeschoolers, right. A lot of us study Latin.
You, good luck.
So we could certainly do that. And then Jamie said this would be a fun family project to give for Christmas gifts. So, Jamie, I'm assuming that your family would get together and make the little puzzles and then give them to other family members, and your kids would get the joy of making the puzzles. I think that's what you're talking about. So, okay, wonderful. All right. Well, kids, we have given you 3 different puzzles that you can make. So now you're like ready to go off and make some puzzles. If Eric's ready to stop screen sharing, we're going to make us bigger again. And we're going to talk to the moms a little bit about making puzzles and answer any questions that they have for the second part of our webinar.
Boom.
There we are. Yay.
And we're back.
All right. So we're just going to get started and talk to me a little bit, Eric, while moms go ahead and start having your questions come in over here, and I can tag them as questions and we won't forget them by the end of the webinar. But I want to get a little background on Eric. How did you get started doing this, and why do you think puzzling with kids is important?
I've been puzzling my whole life. I mean, literally my whole life. My earliest memories, I was probably 4, maybe even younger, and solving word seeks with my grandmother. She would buy word seek magazines, and we would solve them together. I mean, puzzles have been a part of my life forever, and I've never left it. I love it as much now as I did when I was a kid. You had a 2-part question. What was the other part of the question?
The other part was, why do you think it's important to solve puzzles with kids?
There's a number of reasons. First, and foremost, puzzles are fun.
Yeah.
They're fun in a particular kind of way. They're fun because they're satisfying. They fulfill this very human need to say, I did it. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it, but I did it. A couple of weekends ago, I went rock climbing for the first time with my family. My brothers took me rock climbing with my nephews and my daughter, and that is not something that I normally do. It was hard. It was challenging, and it culminated with this 20-foot climb straight up through this crevice that was almost too narrow for a person to fit into, and I was concerned here and there. But my brothers gave me guidance and sometimes literally a hand, and I did it. And I got to the end, and I looked around like, I felt awesome.
Yeah.
Puzzles do that too, from the comfort of your living room sofa. You get a grid. It's entirely blank. You look at the clues for the first time, and you know what? You don't know all of them. You only know a small percentage of them, and you say, can I do this? But you begin, and you write in some letters, and those letters spark something like, oh, if this is this letter, then this word must be that. And you begin, and your success builds on your success until you get to the end, and you look back, and you say, I did it. It is a real core sense of satisfaction. And that is what makes puzzles so great. That aha moment and the satisfaction when you filled in the final letter. It's a warm and wonderful feeling.
Right. Okay. I turned off the ringer on that phone before we got started, by the way. And for some reason, it's still ringing. Okay, Eric, you had some things you wanted to say to moms about doing puzzles with their kids. So let me let you get started with that.
All right. I'm going to go back to screenshot for just a little bit more.
Okay.
Yes, share that. Boom. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about what the puzzles that I do, because I want to explain. I want to explain that a little. Let me just get my notes here. Well, first of all, hang on before I even get to that. Just to continue what I was saying, as kids solve more puzzles, they won't need quite as many hints. They develop a better recognition of word patterns and language. They develop sharper critical thinking skills that will assist them way beyond mere word puzzles. When you're solving a puzzle, you're reaching out with your mind for the solution. And as you get better at solving puzzles, your mind is able to reach further and further and in creative new directions. And that is, beyond the fun part of it, the second reason why I'm such a strong advocate for puzzles. And even all that skips over the fact that puzzles are such a great test of vocabulary from all kinds of fields, from geography to history, math, and pop culture. You guys already know that kids should read something every day. You've heard that a million times. I am an advocate for kids should solve something every day. Does it have to be a word puzzle? Well, clearly I'm an advocate for word puzzles, but no, it doesn't have to be a word puzzle. There's a million kinds of math puzzles out there. We're in a golden age of puzzles. If you have an iPad or an Android thing, there's a million billion wonderful games out there for those things, all different kinds of puzzle apps. Solving a couple of levels of puzzles every day is a great way to keep your kid's brain energized. Anything that lights up the aha part of the brain is something that I'm in favor of. All right, so now I want to talk about the kinds of puzzles that I do. So this is a crossword. This is a 15 by 15 crossword. This is the standard size that you see in your average daily newspaper. It contains about 78 words. And to make one of these, a constructor is almost certainly going to have to use words that a kid is not going to know. And even if a constructor could make this sort of thing entirely kid-friendly, it's just so big. It would be a very unusual child who could finish something like that in a single sitting or even two sittings. So, all right, let's make this a little bit smaller.
It's a very unusual adult who can finish it in 1 or 2 sittings. I have a book full of like half done puzzles in there.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with putting a puzzle aside. I do that all the time. All right, so here's a smaller puzzle, 9 by 9. Now this is a little bit more tractable. This is just 30 words. Definitely a step in the right direction. But most of the words are they're so short. It's just 3-letter words and 4-letter words. You've got some 7-letter words here. That's great. But for the most part, there's a lot of short words in here. And there's a whole world of other words out there that I'd want a kid to know and to have available to put into a puzzle. A whole spectrum of language, a whole spectrum of knowledge. So this is a puzzle that I sent out to you guys in advance, the handout puzzle. This is called a 1, 2, 3. It looks a little bit like a crossword puzzle. You've got words going across, you've got words going down. But in some of the puzzle boxes, in some of the boxes, you have more than 1 letter. And part of the puzzle of this is to figure out how many letters have to go into a particular box. So, I mean, this puzzle is small. It's just 29 words. It can be done in a single sitting, maybe 2 sittings. But there aren't that many short words. There's still some long words in there. And all these words are things that kids should know or should be able to work out, maybe with a little bit of assistance. Most of the puzzles that I make have this sort of thing, what I call an added element. In crosswords, the words go across, the words go down. There's nothing wrong with that. But it gets a little repetitive. Sorry, I lost my place. In this, words go across, the words go down. There's the added element of figuring out how many letters go into each spot. Here's another puzzle that I make. This is called a labyrinth. Again, it has an added element. Words go across, but they also follow this crazy winding path. It doesn't mean there are hard words in here, because I hope there are not. They're all going to be words that kids will know, but they have to figure out how to get them to fit into this winding path. And when they escape the labyrinth by getting out the exit, they get to say, hey, I did it.
Right. We've actually worked one of those from your site before. And the great thing was we worked mostly across, but then we would get stuck. And so we could go find where we were in the trail and see if we could answer that part of the,
exactly.
So it was great because it gave us, something else to go on too, and kept us from getting stuck.
You use the across answers to help you get you the down answers. Here you use the across answers to help you give the path answers.
Right.
Each of these puzzles is going to flex the kid's brain in a slightly different way. It's not the same thing every time. You're gonna need different tools from your mental toolbox to solve each of these puzzles. And that's the sort of thing I like to challenge kids in that way. The vocabulary is always easy or easy-ish, but you're going to have to bend your brain in different directions in order to get there. Make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And and they're a lot of fun. We've been having a lot of fun with them.
So as was said before, I give one puzzle away each week for free. All you have to do is go to puzzleyourkids.com and give me your email address, and boom, you'll get them every Friday morning. If you want even more puzzles, or you just want to support what it is that I do, for $5 a month, you can get 2 puzzles every week and all kinds of other bonus content. That's the beginning and the end of the sales pitch.
So awesome.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about how to actually incorporate these puzzles into your homeschool day. I'm going to turn off the screen sharing at this point. Boop. Now, there's a number of ways of doing it. There's really no wrong way of doing it. You can simply hand them over and go do something else and let them have at it with the puzzle. If they can't finish one, all right, they'll try again next week. It's not the end of the world. I fail to complete puzzles all the time. Mostly logic puzzles. Word puzzles I can do. Logic puzzles, I'm still, an advanced amateur. And there's lots of puzzles I cannot finish. It's okay to put it aside. When you do complete one of those puzzles, it just feels that much better and your confidence grows that much more. You can let the kids, if you have a homeschool group where you got a big family, let the kids work together in pairs or in groups. I love cooperative solving with my friends. We get together for puzzle events all the time, and we break up into teams, and we work together to solve the puzzle. I love impressing my friends when I'm the one who says something right, and I love applauding them when they're the ones who say something right. And then at the end, it's not, hey, I did it. It's, hey, we did it. And it's an awesome feeling to get there. If you don't want to just give your puzzle to the kid and walk away, that's perfectly fine. I agree with that. You can be around to give hints. And because it's your own child, the hint doesn't have to be the first letter of this word is a Q or whatever. You can contextualize the hint to your child. Remember when we went to the museum and we saw that exhibit? And prime your kid's brain in just the right way so they can get the word. And even more than that, these puzzles can lead to impromptu homeschool lessons or all kinds of discussion. Puzzle Your Kids got started because when I was a homeschool parent myself a few years back, and my daughter and I would solve the Monday New York Times crossword puzzle, which is the easiest crossword puzzle of the week. And we would take a few days to do it. And I would fill in most of the words, and she would fill in what she could. But better than the puzzle was the discussion that came out of the puzzle. And we wound up talking about musical theater or old rock and roll songs or I don't even know what, dog breeds. And we'd go web surfing or looking at YouTube videos, and we'd forget about the puzzle entirely. Is a perfectly fine way to go. So integrating these puzzles, it's a confidence booster and maybe even a send you off towards a lesson that you didn't even know you were going to teach that day.
Yeah, in homeschooling circles, we call those rabbit trails. And I mean, very much so that if your child latches on to something in the puzzle, you know, something that sounds interesting to them that they'd never heard of before, things of that nature, then go with it and spend a little time exploring that particular topic, because you've got a teachable moment there. You know, in teaching, you call that a teachable moment. You have a child who's sitting there interested in this thing. And so, you know, expanding upon it. And the beautiful thing about, you know, we typically have the device in our hands that we can use to do that just by jumping on YouTube or Wikipedia or some other website with a quick Google search.
Puzzles tend to be have teachable moments for the parents as well, as you learn both. My kid knew that word? Cool. I didn't realize my kid was that advanced. That's awesome. And also, you didn't know that. My goodness, there's a gap in your education that I was unaware of. And then you get into this conversation and you're off down a rabbit trail. It's great.
Yeah, and you can fill in that gap. So yeah, ours typically has to do our gaps when, you know, Dad asked them something about U.S. history. And I'm like,
history, geography. I try to limit the amount of history and geography in any given puzzle, but I do try to drip in a few words in there for exactly this reason. I think kids should know it.
Right. That's fun. Okay. So we're getting a little bit of conversation going on over here. We have some questions back to the puzzles we did. Somebody wants to know, for word seek puzzles, this is Cecilia, do you give the solver the list of words? So Cecilia, I'm not sure if you're talking about the puzzles that you're making or the puzzles that Eric makes. So could you answer both ways for us, Eric?
Sure. Well, generally, I don't do word seeks for Puzzle Your Kids. You'll see them here and there in some of my like puzzle collections that you'll see on the website. But I don't think you're ever going to see a word seek in your inbox on Friday morning. When you make a word seek, it's entirely up to you whether you give the list or not. Generally, you should, as a rule, I think. But there are plenty of reasons not to. I mean, if you know that your kid is familiar with the theme of the word search and can name all the things in it right away, then give them that extra challenge and withhold the word list. But by and large, I think giving it is a good idea.
Okay. Wendy wants to know, for the first puzzle where you cut the words into strips, could you make the letters numbers by combining the number and strip puzzles?
I don't see how, because it's going to be a bunch of numbers on the strips, and I don't see how any arrangement of those strips is going to give you a set of random numbers, and any one of those is going to be no different from any other random number. With the letters, as you rearrange them, sort of the message will reveal itself. I don't see how to do that with numbers. There's probably a way of getting there, but I don't think it's probably going to be a puzzle for children.
Okay. Okay, so that's more of one of those enigma machine kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's a rabbit trail for you right there if you want to study into codes and getting even deeper into things like that.
Codes and ciphers, of course.
Yeah.
We have a whole other hour-long discussion on that if you wanted to, but not right now.
So Sherry said, if you're not going to give your child the list of words for the word seek, you could tell them how many words are in there that they need to find.
Oh, yes, that's a very good idea.
And Lisa mentioned that too. So, yeah. And then Dawn said, working the puzzles into your morning time with a 5-minute study. And I think that's a fabulous idea that so one of the things you could do if you're worried about, sometimes we have moms who get worried about, well, if we start nature journaling in our morning time, it could go on for hours and hours. But what you could do is you could bring in some of Eric's puzzles or puzzles that you've created yourself. And you could say, we're going to work puzzles for 10 minutes today. And so that way you kind of have a finite start and finish. And it's not bad for them to then percolate on those puzzles the rest of the day and continue thinking about them and then come back the next day and spend a few more minutes working on the puzzles again. Sure. So if that's something you're worried about, moms, you could certainly say, we're going to work on puzzles for this many minutes, and then we're going to come back tomorrow and work on puzzles again. Because I know sometimes you guys worry about them getting sucked into something. Yeah. Because it would be so much more fun to do puzzles than math lessons. So, all right. Any other questions for Eric before we wrap up? And I just want to, I'm going to yammer again, Dawn, sorry. Just want to point out, Dawn has been dropping the links all along, but there is the Puzzle Your Kids website that Eric runs, and there are 2 levels of participation over there. One is the sign up for his mailing list. I've been on it for a few weeks. It's an absolutely delightful mailing list to be on. I get my weekly puzzle every Friday. And there's a subscription box there on the website, so you could do that. And then the second option is to do that extra level of support for the $5 a month, and you get 2 puzzles each week plus bonuses. Yes. So that's something that you can do as well.
Periodically, I do a treasure hunt for my solvers, a multi-puzzle hunt. I just released one that's Halloween themed, for example. And supporters get that as just part of, because I love my supporters.
Okay, perfect. So that's kind of the extra bonus that you get as a supporter. You're going to get a multi-puzzle themed hunt kind of thing. And so, yeah, that would be a lot of fun. And then don't forget the books as well on Amazon. And then they have the puzzles inside. And then you can, if you want to download, I'm looking for another one, download another version that you could write on. I'm finding the chapter headings. Then you could do that on the website. There are sets of puzzles that go with each of the books over there. If you are someone who stumbled upon this webinar and you're not quite sure what morning time is, Dawn is going to drop a link for you. We have a set of sample morning time plans that you could go download. It's 3 weeks of morning time plans. You can find those at pambarnhill.com/month. And then we have a little coupon code for you guys too. If you use Fall MTM, you can get 20% off of our fall morning time plans or our preschool harvest term morning time plans. And so Dawn's going to drop the links for that as well and tell you the coupon code. And the coupon code and the replay for this are good through Saturday, or excuse me, good through Friday. So if you want to come back and watch the beginning part of the webinar again, where Eric shows the kids how to make puzzles, if the kids are like, what was he doing there? And they have a question about it, then you can come back and watch that little part and have him walk you through how to make those puzzles again, until they kind of have it down. It's not that hard. They'll get it down, and then you'll be answering and solving more puzzles than you want to, I'm sure. So, Eric, thank you very much for joining us here today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It was a wonderful time.
It was just absolutely lovely. And we will be in touch with more puzzles. But you guys, if you have any questions, you can always send them to info@pambarnhill.com. And if Don and I can't answer them, we will forward them on to Eric and put you in touch with him as well. Eric, do you have a Facebook presence?
Yeah, facebook.com, Puzzle Your Kids.
Okay, so there, and I'm sure Dawn's going to like run and drop that link because she's really good that way.
Okay.
You can follow Puzzle Your Kids on Facebook as well to get updates about everything that Eric is doing. So I encourage you, moms. We've been having a great time with this. It's been a good little stretching your brain thing. Print out those puzzles, bring them into your morning time. I like to just dedicate a good chunk of time on Friday, and the kids look forward to it. They know they're coming. And that we get to sit and solve and work those puzzles on Friday, and it gives them something to look forward to. So do it. And
I'm tired of hearing that.
Yeah, stretch that vocabulary. But thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
All right. You guys have a great day. Thank you.